Despite a ceasefire agreement between the Syrian government and the Kurdish-led SDF, there are still reports of fighting near Tishrin Dam east of Aleppo and near a prison holding ISIL fighters near Raqqa. It follows the army's attempts to consolidate its presence in the northeast of the country. Earlier, soldiers moved into the area around the dam with bomb disposal teams removing explosive devices. They're planted by the SDF. Elsewhere, people gathered to celebrate. The city of Raqqa had been under SDF control for nearly a decade after it was retaken from ISIL fighters back in 2017. The latest developments follow the signing of a ceasefire agreement by Syrian President Ahmed al-Sharaa. The deal makes provision for the Kurdish-led SDF to be integrated into the army. A ceasefire comes into effect on all fronts, halting the Syrian army's advance. It'll see the integration of tens of thousands of SDF fighters into the army. The government in Damascus will take control of all oil and gas fields which were previously in the hands of the SDF. The government will also take over the prisons in the northeast where tens of thousands of ISIL fighters are detained. Well, joining us from London is Labib Nahhas. He is a Syrian political analyst. But there is a danger, isn't there, Labib, that this fighting escalates to the point where there's a prison break, which would maybe involve a lot of ISIL fighters escaping and going on a rampage, and that's the fear.
Well, that was one of the leverage cards, let's say, that SDF has been holding since the beginning, and the only way that this could happen if there's a lack of coordination, or if the ceasefire doesn't hold, or if the meeting that is being held right now between Sharaa and Muslim Abdi in Damascus will not yield in very specific results and clarifications of the vagueness that the agreement holds within itself. So the report that we're getting and I think there has been a statement from SDF in the last few minutes saying that the prison in Shaddadi is out of their control, and that the U.S. have not intervened or helped in holding to that prison. And at the same time, the Syrian state media has been reporting that SDF have already released purposely some ISIS prisoners. So again, I think we need an urgent and quick control of the situation, and the meeting that is being held in Damascus right now has to put certain clarifications on the agreement.
Labib, there are a lot of unanswered questions here, aren't there, such as how this security vetting would take place, what the status of Kurds would be, even though they've come out and said that they'd become citizens, etc., and indeed how certain Kurdish parts or majority parts of Syria will be governed.
Yes, I think those are the two major challenges, along with the issue of the future of SDF and the fate of SDF, whether it's going to continue to exist or not after the merger. In terms of the of merging SDF military forces into the Syrian state, I think the Syrian state has achieved a very big milestone in terms of forcing SDF to accept that the integration will be as individuals. But yet, as you mentioned, the security vetting is going to be a huge challenge, because we're talking about 50 to 70 or 80,000 soldiers. So this is a massive, if when I look at it from a security point of view, kind of infiltration into the new state military force. On the administrative part, I think the biggest challenge really is in Al-Hasaka, because it's the only geographic location where there is a Kurdish majority in terms of demography. So how the model will be implemented, and will SDF or SDF autonomous administration workers will be taking care of the city and just changing the label basically from SDF or the autonomous authority administration, to Syrian state? That's yet to be seen,
Yeah, and Labib, there are a lot of foreign fighters amongst the SDF and other groupings there as well. How are they going to be dealt with?
Again, this is also something that the agreement has not detailed. There is one mentioning in the agreement, though, that SDF has to expel any PKK-linked or affiliated individuals or operatives. This is also going to be a challenge within SDF itself, because even before the big advances that the Syrian authorities made in the last 48 hours, there was already some division within the leadership of SDF itself. So we might expect some of the more radical elements in SDF to refuse that part. So again, there are some challenges within SDF itself to fulfill that part, and then there are challenges between the Syrian state and SDF to see how the vetting and the issue of foreign fighters, not only within SDF but also the fate of the foreign fighters within the ISIS prisons themselves. What's going to happen with them?
Labib, very quickly, what is your gut feeling about this? Is this ceasefire, in your view, going to hold in a meaningful way?
I think it's going to hold, not in a perfect way, by no means. But we have to keep in mind that SDF has lost most of their leverage. The oil, gas fields, the dams, the territorial control, and now they're losing also ISIS prisons. So SDF is going to find itself forced to accept some sort of deal at the end. Now, the details we don't know, but it's clear to me, I think, that they're not in a position anymore to launch a full kind of scale confrontation with the authorities.
Labib Nahhas there, joining us from London. He's a Syrian political analyst.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.